Welcome everybody to today's class. If you're joining us for the first time, uh, you're welcome. And for you to be able to catch up, we kind of have had a number of sessions before now. You need to go back and follow through, and so that you can be able to get to where we are. But just a little bit of background, right? We kind of started with Python, and we have covered a few of the basics. We have gone through the basic things like variables, and last 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 class we had, we dived a little bit deeper into like if statements, conditional statements, how to use them, and we used a practical example to write our code that day. Um, so today we are kind of gonna continue on that route, but we're getting into another type of conditional um, statements called loops, right? So if you're new to Python, you're probably gonna be a little bit lost at this point, but don't think too much about it. There is gonna be plenty of time for you to actually, catch up. But I'm gonna try to be as basic as I can to try and carry everybody along, right? So typically, the first thing you need is to make sure that you have Python installed on your laptop. And if you have Python installed on your laptop, you would probably be able to follow through. I think the other thing you need is like VS Code. If you have VS Code on your laptop, you'll be able to follow through. Otherwise, I mean, you don't have to actually, like you typing as I'm typing. You can just listen in, and at the end of the day, the video recording is going to be available, so you can actually on your own time go back and review and write out all the code and all of that. Make sense? Any question, anybody? All right, please, let's all be on mute. I'm just gonna mute everybody. Mute this guy. Mute everybody. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Typically, okay, let me just share my entire screen first of all, so that nobody is lost. So basically, we had a whole session where we went through all the kind of things that you need to install on your laptop, including Python, VS Code, Gates. We touched GitHub and all of that stuff. So that was a whole session. At this point, our we most of us, kind of already have Python installed. But if you're new, that's probably one of the things you need to do before continuing with the rest of us. So I guess you can just listen in, and then afterwards you can go back. But if you have at this point, installed Python, you just need to open it. Typically, there are two ways that you can open Python. You can open it using your terminal, like I'm doing, and then actually just like just type Python, and then you have Python open, right? Yeah. So, but this is not the ideal way. We typically use a code editor, like VS Code, it's kind of like an app where you can, type in your files into some kind of files. Python files are usually we usually name them with .py. So I'm just gonna create a new file here, and I'm just gonna call it today.py. So we can actually go ahead and type our codes into this code editor, save it, and then we can run it with Python. So that's exactly what we're gonna be doing. So I'm gonna stop sharing and share just my VS Code. Are you? And then we can start. Okay, so today we are going into loops. Loops are kind of a really important aspect of Python. Some of the things that we have done so far is, adding numbers, putting words and words together, and just, kind of doing basic stuff that doesn't really require Python to make any decision on its own. But last time we introduced conditional statements, where Python can actually start, instead of just going on a straight line and just reading our code. Python can actually start making some small decisions on its own, and it's kind of a starting point for Python creating more smarter or more intelligent code or more intelligent software. So we use things like if statements and conditional statements to build into Python some intelligence or some smartness, right? Um, all right, guys, we do have quite a number today, and we have people coming in and going. So I'll really appreciate if someone keeps an eye on the people who are coming in and just be admitting them, okay? Anybody who is already in can do that.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yep. So long time ago, I was working for a client, and I think it was a bank, and there was a specific issue that we kind of worked on, that um, we solved most of that problem, using like conditional statements, the loops, right? So I'm gonna use that example today, so that it's easier for people to kind of follow along, right? So when you go to the bank, right, and typically there used to be maybe someone at the door who usually like tell everybody, hey, welcome to Access Bank, welcome to Access Bank. And this guy would normally just stand at the door from morning till night, right? And that's all right, so but as time goes on, organizations, they usually try to automate things as much as they can, not just because they are trying to remove people who are doing that job already, but it just kind of to make things faster. And to be honest, there are certain kind of work that people like to do, and there are certain kind of work that people don't generally love to do, especially repetition work. If you have to do something all over and all over again and all over again, it becomes really boring for us humans, right? But that's usually where computers excel, right? So if we have such a scenario where we have to do something all over and all over again, it's usually wise to just automate it, write some program that actually comes in and solve that problem. All right. So in this case, we had someone, who had to, say welcome to Access Bank from morning till night. And honestly, that's not such a fun work, right? So this is usually the area that computers shine. So the short version is that basically, I work with this client, and the problem was we needed to automate this process so that, instead of having an employee stand at the door, we kind of, maybe write some program that just dictates when someone comes in and is able to tell the person, hey, welcome to Access Bank, right? And computers are very, very good at doing things like this. So let's actually get right to it. So the thing about loops is we have um we have two types of loops in Python, right? The first one is a while loop. While, like this. This is just an English word, so but this is one of the English words that Python actually knows. So this is one of the reserved words in Python. So anywhere Python sees this word while, then Python already knows that it's going to um go ahead and evaluate this word. And if this word is true, it means that Python is going to continue to do, whatever you tell it to do until this this guy is no longer true. So I'm going to show you example with this scenario. The code, it looks something like this. So the main problem we are trying to solve is, if we get somebody, let's say bank normally opens 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let's just say bank is open for 10 hours, right? And then we want a program that's going to be running during that period of time, and just, kind of waiting around and be able to dictate. Of course, there is this is going to be a very simplified solution, because the actual solution involves, not just Python, but, some other gadgets, some other motion detectors, other things that will actually make it easy. But the most important aspect is the code, that actually runs continuously to make this work, right? um Okay, let me make sure that I'm still sharing the right thing. Y'all can still see my screen, right?
No, no, sir. Your screen is not showing now.
We are only seeing what you are
Yes,
displaying.
yes, it's showing.
It's showing now.
Yes.
Yes, sir, it's showing.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool.
The,
So,
the screen is showing now.
okay, it's showing now, right? Yeah, okay. So we are gonna be working with time. So this is probably the first time, we are introducing this concept. But remember when we looked at reserved words in Python, you notice that one of the reserved words is imports. So we normally use this word to tell Python that we want to import an external module or package. These are usually, like, other people's code, or some code that everybody already uses because we don't want to write them all the time. These are usually like very important packages that we can use on a day-to-day basis, right? So one of those popular Python packages is time. So we normally use this guy to kind of do things that has to do with time, right? So in our scenario, we are assuming that okay, a bank is open, let's say for like 10 hours. So, but obviously we don't have 10 hours to wait. So I'm just gonna do like 10 minutes, right? Something like that, right? So I could do something like I could do something like total minutes. Let's say total minutes is 10. Like we can do 10 minutes. So at this point, we're just telling Python, hey, I have a number 10. This is gonna be like the minutes, that the my bank is gonna be open. And I'm giving Python this number, and I'm telling Python to save it with a variable called total minutes. Make sense? If you're if you're just seeing this for the first time, it's just Python. It's just a way for me to tell Python that okay, I want you to remember this number. Then that's it. So Python remembers it. Python goes into my laptop. It finds a storage location that can keep this word for me, this number for me, and then Python just labels that location total minutes, and then he saves 10 there. So if I actually come back and I tell Python, maybe say something like print total minutes.
I'm not following. My screen is frozen. I'm just seeing the basic page. Okay, it's now on. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's probably gonna be it's probably gonna be some network issue. We can't help it, right?
Sir, is
So
this
I'm
supposed to
just
be?
gonna run.
Hello,
Pardon?
sir. Is this
Mhm.
supposed to be a class for beginners?
Yes.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I mean, so far so good. The only thing I've actually done is, I just imported time. This is a Python package that I'm gonna use down the line. So just ignore that guy until I'm actually able to use it. Right. So I'm just saying, okay, we have total minutes, then Python doesn't really know what I'm trying to do at this point. It just knows, okay, there's a number that is important to me and it's 10, and then Python is just gonna remember it with this acronym or variable as we call it in Python, right? So if I come back and I tell Python to print this and then I run it, Python will go back to where it saved this guy and it just gives me 10, right? Does that sound confusing? Anybody?
Yes. Yes,
Do
I'm
you
still
have
trying to get.
do you have like
I'm just joining, so I'm still trying to get you well.
you're just joining? Okay, today is like your first day,
Very first day.
very first day. Have you ever done any Python thing in the past?
No.
Never.
Yes.
Okay. Well, um, like I said, there is going to be need for you to kind of go backwards and start from the day one, right? So today is actually like day 10. So if it's too difficult for you to follow today, don't
Okay.
don't think too much about it. It doesn't mean that you're lost. It just means that you have not been able to, you were not in the previous classes. So
Yes.
like you don't really you just don't have that information here, right? So but as soon as you go back and you kind of see what we've done before, it's just gonna be like, oh, okay, is this what they were trying to do, right?
If I can have access to the past videos or lectures, I think I will cope. I'll join.
Yeah. We have like a link. So you're gonna get the link. If you don't have it already, you get the link at the end of the class. Okay.
Okay, okay. I would rather start from beginning.
Okay, makes sense. Alrighty. So yeah, just to make sure that not too many people are lost. Obviously, there is no way everybody is going to be able to follow. Especially because a lot of people joined us recently, so it's perfectly understandable. I'm just like, if you're not following, like don't think too much about it. It's okay. Even people who are following, people who started like from day one, sometimes you need to kind of go back and watch the video again, to understand the whole thing, So, but still, I'm going to try my best, my very, very best to make sure that, it's as simple as possible, right? Okay, so far so good. What we have done is just define a variable and we have given it 10. So I'm just using 10 so that it's not gonna be too much. Typically, I think we have like over 500 minutes in 8 hours. So 10 is probably um too simplified. But that will work. So now I'm about to define a while loop. Like I can tell Python that while total minutes, let's just say, as long as this guy is white total minutes is, let's say, mm, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. um I'm gonna define another. I'm just gonna put something here, call it flag, and I'm just gonna assign it 0, just because I need 0, because I don't want to start putting 0 here, right? So I'm gonna say that as long as my total minutes is greater than my flag, right, then we can do something. So what we are really trying to learn today, this is the most important aspect of it, right? So typically the way that Python reads your code, it starts from line 1, it goes down line 2, line 3, line 4, continues like that, right? So but once Python sees a while loop, then it means that Python is gonna keep running whatever is inside this loop, until the condition that you give it is no longer true. So in this case, what I have done, I've just given Python a number 10 and I give it another number 0. right? And then I'm telling Python that, you know, as long as this guy is greater than this guy, then keep doing whatever I want. So whatever I put in here, let's say print, let me just print something like hello. Python is just going to keep doing it continuously. So if I go ahead and I run it, we'll see that Python is just going to keep on printing hello. So that's basically what this guy does, right? It's not ideal for you to kind of do something like this. So we would normally run into issues when we don't use the while loop correctly, because it can go into something called infinity loop, whereby it just continues to do that thing forever and ever, and there is no way for it to stop. Because if you want this thing to ever stop, you probably need to turn off your laptop, you know, maybe find another way, I guess, you know. So I'm just gonna quit this guy. Usually we're not in a software now. So now we're not inside any software. So I can actually just, you know, like use Control C to quit this guy. Okay. We don't want to get into an infinity loop anyway. You don't ever want to get into an infinity loop. But we'll see how to kind of, you know, avoid something like that. So instead of hello, let me actually just print total minutes at this point. Yeah, that looks good. So what I do want to do is, you know, I'm just trying to write a program, you know, that just greets customers at the door, right? Remember, that's what we are trying to do. So we kind of need a way to tell when there is a customer, you know, passing through the door, for instance, right? Typically, you're going to need some kind of a device, like a motion detector or something like that, that brings this information. So, but for our use case, we can just tell Python, you know, by ourselves, you know, whether there is a customer entering or not, right? So I can do something like, and this is going to be an input, and it's probably going to be just something like this. I think I can just do this. So what I'm just doing is, you know, I'm just telling Python, hey, this is a variable, and I'm just going to use this variable to tell Python, you know, whether there is a customer entering or not. At the end of the day, our goal is to understand how the while loop works and how we can use it to solve, you know, like a real world problem, like this one. Hi, please be on mute. Sorry. Alrighty. And Another thing I want to do next is, just, after I supply Python with this information, whether there is a customer at the door or not. Okay, someone is raising their hand. What's up, Marshall?
I'll be going out from my phone because I just transferred to my desktop. I'm streaming from my desktop now. So I just wanted to say.
That's okay. I guess it's a good thing we are recording it. So. So the next thing we can now do is we can tell Python that if customer enters is yes, then just I mean, I guess we can just tell the customer welcome, I guess. Can do something like this. So you will notice that so far so good. I mean, we have not really run this code. The reason why I have not run it is because of the issue that I explained earlier about getting into an infinity loop. So I have to make sure that before I run this code, that I have a way to stop the loop. That's why I'm just kind of going. So I can also check if customer enters is yes. So but I can do something like else if customer enters is no. Maybe we can just say something like waiting for next customer. Yeah, that should do it. And I can probably just delay the program for like let's just say 5 seconds. And then I need to decrease the total minutes, by 1, right? So this last line that I just added, this is this is a very important line because this is how we make sure that this our while loop, it does not run forever. It does not just keep on spinning and spinning and spinning. So we can actually go ahead and quit the loop as soon as this guy goes below 0. At this point, I guess just listen. So as soon as we run the code, we're going to see the result, and then I can explain it bit by bit, everything that just happened, So, but at this point, we have done so much, and we can actually go ahead and run the code. Maybe let's say let me just Let me just print done at the end of it. Probably just say done, right? Cool. Okay, let me run it. And if I run today, we got issues. Yep, it's okay. Typically, when you write your code for the first time and you run it, sometimes it don't run, because maybe you've made some mistake in your code, and mistake is human, honestly. So when you get a traceback error, don't panic. It happens, real life. So I'm having some issues in line 7. This is line 7. This is because I'm doing total minutes and I'm adding this guy to this guy, and then it's just telling me that, hey, okay, you can only concatenate string and not integers to string. Okay, makes sense. So let me just print the total minutes, I guess. If I go ahead and I run it again, I get another error. And this other error is a line 8. So it looks like we solved the one at line 7, and now we've got another error at line 8, and they're just telling me that, hey, customer enters is an input, yes or no. Input is not defined. Did you mean? Oh, okay. That shit was not correct. So it's usually input, not imp. Then I go ahead and I run my code again. Okay, and looks like we're now getting somewhere. So if I tell Python that, hey, a customer is passing by, it goes ahead and it tells the customer, welcome to Access Bank, I guess. And then he waits, for a while because it's sleeping, and then it repeats again. And let's say this time around, there is no customer. It just says waiting for the next customer, and then it continues like that, right? If we keep going and we keep going, it takes a little bit of time, like too much time actually. Let me just change this to 1. So I'm running it again. It's just asking me, hey, is there a customer? And I say, hey, there's a customer at the door. So Python just goes ahead and prints, hey, welcome to Access Bank, And then let's say next time I tell him there's no customer, waiting for the next customer. If I tell him no, waiting for the next customer. If I tell him yes, then he goes ahead and tells the person, welcome to Access Bank, So we can keep on going like this until the whole 10 minutes that we have given Python elapse, right? You can see that it's also counting down the minutes, because we're actually printing the total minutes. And we are minusing 1 from it at the end of the script, right? So if I just keep going, yeah. So once the total minutes is no longer greater than flag, which at this point is 0, the program exits. It stops running, and then it tells us done. So what is happening here? We have just written, this is like the the typical code that a backend engineer, for instance, would add on the backend to, kind of achieve the goal we are trying to achieve. So that instead of someone standing on the door from morning to night, we now have like some kind of a device that is programmed, that can actually just do this, right? So that's the problem we are trying to solve. And just from top, right? The first thing we have done is we just imported time so that we can use it here, right? And this is probably like the number of minutes that the bank is open. Typically, it's more than this, right? A bank is probably like open from morning to like evening, several hours, several minutes, right? But because we don't have all that time, we're just using 10 as an example. So let's say the bank is only open for 10 minutes, right? We created a flag 0 so that we can use it to control this loop so that it does not run forever, right? So on line 6, we now defined a condition that Python will always check to decide whether to run all this code or not. So the gist of it is that the while loop will always resolve to true or false. So once Python gets to line 6, basically what is happening is we're just telling Python, compare flag, which is this guy, and check if total minutes is greater than it, right? So the first time we run this code, on line 1, let me take this up just a notch. The first time we run this code, like the first time the loop goes around, the total minutes is still 10. So obviously this is true. So Python goes ahead and it runs whatever is in here, right? So we printed the total minutes, and that's why we got 10 here. And then we went ahead and we gave Python information about whether there is a customer on the door or not, right? So this is obviously a very simplified example. You just kind of to make sure that you can at least imagine some of these things in real life, and it kind of makes it easier for you to follow, right? We are going to tell Python by ourselves whether there is a customer at the door or not. Typically, you will need some other device, some more technical stuff to be able to pass this information to your software, the actual software, like the program that is going to be doing this, right? And then eventually, you will now pass that information down to a variable and save it. So typically in a real world environment, it will probably be like some kind of a function that does very complex calculations to get that information from a motion detector, and then ultimately it resolves to whether there is someone at the door or not, right? So that's why we are telling Python whether, right, in this case, whether there is someone at the door or not by ourselves, right? So when we tell Python that, hey, there is someone at the door, is yes. Then Python takes that yes we've given it, it saves it to this variable, and then in the next line we have defined another condition, right? This is an if statement. If you remember, some of you were here in the last class. We did a whole session on if and else statements, right? So this is another condition that Python will need to check, and an if statement, just like a while loop, will always resolve to yes or no, right? So on this line, Python is going to check, whether whether customer enters is yes. Then if it's yes, this line is going to resolve to true. Then Python can run whatever is inside it. Otherwise, if it's false, like if let's say there is no customer at the door, then this is just gonna this is not gonna be true. Like this is gonna resolve to false. Then Python is just gonna skip this guy, right? So the first time we did it, we gave Python yes. So Python went ahead and printed whatever is in here, So that's welcome to Access Bank, right? But the second time we gave it no, so Python skipped this line, and then it went to the next one. And the next one is also another condition. We're just saying else if you've checked the first one and it's not true, then come down here, right? And then check if the customer enters is no, and then he checks and it's actually no. So Python is just gonna do whatever is in here. And this is why we got waiting for the next customer here, right? Cool. And finally, we just told Python to pause for a while. Just pause for a while. So this is why we imported the time in the first place, so that we can actually pause, just a little bit, right? And typically, maybe in a real world environment, maybe you want this to happen every minute, because I mean it's maybe or 30 seconds, because I mean it's going to take that much time for one person to pass the door and for another person to come, right? So the Python pauses for 1 second on this line, and then it continues to the next line. Now the next line, which is also very, very important, we are doing something called increment or decrement. We usually use this method to stop our while loop from running forever. So because our total minutes that we gave Python is 10, we need a way to make sure that after each minute, Python knows that, okay, the number of minutes is no longer 10 now. Like after 1 minute, it's now 9 minutes. After another minute, it's now 8 minutes, right? So that's why we told Python that, at this point, check total minutes. At this point, total minutes is 10, but go ahead and remove 1 from it, and then save the new value for total minutes. So after the first time, we go through this loop, then total minutes becomes 9. And that's why we got 9 here, right? So remember the first time it was 10 when we printed it. The second time it was 9, right? And then it keeps on going like that. It keeps on removing 1 each time the loop runs. So we just counting down 7, 6, until we got down all the way down to 0, to 1, actually. So as soon as this is 1, as soon as total minutes, it was just remaining 1, then Python just goes this loop for the last time, and then total minutes becomes 0. And at that point, then this our while loop no longer resolves to true, because at that point, total minutes, which is now 0, is no longer greater than flag, which is also 0, right? So it's now like total minutes 0, flag 0. So this is no longer true. So Python no longer runs anything here. It just keeps everything here at this point, and then it goes to the last line, and then it prints done, right? So that's how we use a while loop to solve complex problems, I guess, in a very simple way. And there is another type of loop that we could have used, because like I told you from the beginning, we have 2 types of loops. One is a for loop. The other one is a while loop. So we just use the while loop. We can also do this with a for loop, but there is a slight difference, between when you can use a while loop and a for loop, right? Now, remember that what we are trying to do in this case is to create a program that tells anybody that walked through the door, welcome to Access Bank, right? And then we don't really know how many people are going to come to the bank that day. So in these scenarios where we don't know how many times the code is going to run, we don't know how many times we're going to be, saying welcome to Access Bank, that's a very good time for us to use a while loop. So simply put, we use while loops when we don't know the number of times that, the code is going to run. We don't know the number of loops that we're going to get, right? But there are scenarios where we have, okay, they give you like, okay, we have 11 people in the queue, do something for them. And then they give you all the 11 names. And that's when we can use a for loop, So we're going to get into a for loop a little bit, but I just want to make sure that, you understand exactly why we used this particular concept in Python to solve this particular problem. It's because we don't really know how many people are going to be coming, to the bank today or any day, basically, right? But there are other scenarios, that you can use a for loop, because if you already have, all the numbers, you already know how many times you want to do this loop, then there is no need to do a while loop, which can potentially run forever, right? Okay. Just to make sure, does anybody have any question at this point? Precious.
Okay, sir. I want to just ask a small question. Though I've not watched some of the older videos, so I really don't know if the older videos have explanation. I'm just trying to know if on that line 12 that we have elif, that's elif,
Yeah.
elif. I want to ask if that place is if that's if and not elif, won't the code still run?
Yes. So if so, it's all about at this point, it's not really about Python anymore. It's more about you who is writing the code, right? To kind of have an understanding. So if we do if here, it's going to work. It's going to work. But the reason why we are doing elif is because this means that this guy will only run after this one have run, right?
Okay.
So so instead of us saying, like, so just do this guy, and then do this guy, we are saying, do this guy, and then else, if this guy did not go through, do this guy, right?
Okay, sir.
So yeah, so this line will only work if this guy did not work. So in scenarios whereby customer enters is equals to yes, scenario whereby there is someone walking through the door, then Python is just going to say welcome to Access Bank, right? And then it's not going to look at this guy again to just move ahead. But if we have if here, and then we check this guy and there is someone walking through the door, and then customer enters is yes, Python is going to evaluate this guy, and then it's also going to evaluate this guy. But then it's still going to work, because if this one is yes, then when Python evaluates this one, it's going to be no, right? So it's going to be false. So it's not even going to print this one anyway. So definitely writing a code like this is perfectly valid, but a more experienced engineer who is actually trying to write a clean code would rather do something like this. You understand?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Do we have any other question? Anybody who is having any kind of confusion at this point? Okay, nobody. So, like I said, we have actually solved a complex problem with a simple while loop. So, but typically your actual program or software that you're writing, as the software engineer who is working for Access Bank to solve this issue for them is obviously going to be more complex than this. So this is the simplest version of the code that we can use, in a class like this. I will encourage you on your own, think about other scenarios. What if you're working, for instance, for God is good motors, for instance. Okay, maybe you're helping them build their application for all this webby and stuff like that. What are some scenarios where you can use like a while loop to solve any issue for them, right? So in your own turn, when you go back, think about other scenarios and try to challenge yourself so that you can come up with uh your own maybe slightly different version of code, of this code. And remember, in programming, the most important thing is the the way the system of thinking. It's the system of thinking that helps you to, as you keep on practicing it just kind of masters you, because everything we've done here is the brain trying to solve a particular problem. So it just kind of changing the problem just a little bit, will change a little, things a little bit, and then you will start becoming, starting to master, how to kind of process, when you get problems, how to kind of translate them to code. And that's really the most important aspect. Typically as we move forward, you will become more accustomed to it, and you're not going to be too bothered about things like that again. But from the beginning, you need a lot of practice to develop that um that pattern of thinking, because it does not come to us naturally. That's why we have to learn it. You understand? Okay, so like I said, this is a typical example that we can solve with a while loop. And the other type of loop is a for loop. And we typically use for loops to solve problems when we know exactly the number of items, the number of people that we want to, tell welcome, or we know the number of customers that we want to, send a message or send an email, or maybe we want to generate, generate their, transaction receipt or whatever. So if we know the exact number of people, we can use a for loop. So I have another example that we can actually use for that guy. So let me just start another file. Let me call this guy today 1.py. So let's say we also want to create a program that displays all those things that are in front of maybe a shopping mall or even a bank, all those lights that'll be writing maybe welcome, something like that, like all those LED lights that will do something like welcome. So let's say in that scenario, we want to not just tell the customers that are coming into the bank welcome. We also want to create program a display that will just be displaying welcome to Access Bank every minute, or every second, right? So in that case, if we already know that, okay, our bank is open from this time to this time, and then we want to be displaying this information every minute, then we can check how many minutes our bank is open, and then we can just write a simple for loop that just displays this thing every minute, until the time, until it's closing time for the bank, I guess, and then it stops. So this is a very classic example that we can use to solve a problem using a for loop, right? So let me actually try and get something in that line. I guess we can actually work with time again. At this point, you're already familiar with time. It's just a package, a Python package that I'm gonna use somewhere down the line, right? So I'm gonna import time. Let's say our bank is normally open for 8 hours, whatever, but we just want to make an example. So we can just do our total time to still be 10 minutes. So that should not be a problem, right? That should work for us. So we create a variable and we assign it to 10. And in this scenario, we are really just trying to solve a problem, and we are going to be using a for loop in this case. So because we already know that our bank is going to be open for 10 minutes, we can do something like for each minute in range, total minutes, then do something. This is basically the whole code, but at the end of the day, we just need to define whatever else we want to do. But the important thing here is, Python is reading this code, at line 1, it imports the package named time, simple. It does that, and then it goes to line 2. You gave it a number 10. You said, hey, assign this number 10 to a variable called minutes. Basically, we are telling Python, hey, remember this number 10. Well, I'm going to use it somewhere down the line, right? That's what we are saying. And then it got to the next line. It sees a condition. So once the Python sees a for, this is a reserved word for Python. Remember when we went through our reserved words, we had a number of them. So these are all the reserved words that we have in Python, and you see that we have a for here. So learning Python is basically, eventually seeing how we use most of these things. People who are here with us, who were in the last class and some of the other class, already know how we use some of these things, like the if statement, the else statement, the except, the try and expect, except we have already used that. The else, we already used that. Yeah. So today we are using a for, and once Python sees this, it just knows that, okay, you are giving me a number of things, and you're going to tell me to do something for each one of them. That's basically what it means. So we are just saying Python for each minute in, and then we can use a range. If you do something like this, range, you're just telling Python, if you give it range 10, in this case, total minute is 10. It just means we're giving Python like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 10. That's what it means. So we're just saying for each minute in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, do something. So for each one of those numbers, Python is going to do something, and then, simply we just want to display welcome on an LED screen, right? So we just say welcome, Welcome to Access Bank, right? And I mean, at this point, that's really it. You know, maybe we just want to make sure that this is happening. Like maybe after each. Oh, that's not correct. No, that this is happening like after each second, so that we don't waste too much time here. So I can do time dot sleep, so that once it does this, it holds on for a second and then it goes to the next one. It holds on for a second, it goes to the next one, right? So if we go ahead and we run this code, I think we are doing today one. It's just going to be telling us welcome to Access Bank every minute. So it's just kind of going to be keep on doing this until the 10 minutes is over, right? And then that's end of work. So, but I mean, in real life, obviously, right? The bank is not open for 10 minutes, right? So it's probably going to be doing this for the whole day. So the program, the loop is going to keep on running from morning to evening, and then you come back tomorrow, you run it again, it keeps on running. So that's simple automation that have helped the bank to take the person who has been doing this work of welcoming people and put him into a better use, I guess. So sometimes it means them losing their job, but you get the point, right? So yeah, do we have any questions so far? I mean, like, does anybody feel like all what I've been saying sounds like Latin? No questions. Alrighty. Okay, so sometimes we have let me show you something. So sometimes we have some other conditions inside our loop, that kind of tells Python to do something. One of them is this word, continue. So we're going to see how we can use this continue inside our loop and what it does. And then the other one is break. So now we're going to see how we also use break inside of our loop, to kind of achieve something, right? So let's use this example that we have been using before now in today.py, right? Remember this code. This is the one we are using to tell anybody that passed through the door. We tell him welcome. Remember that Python imports this guy. Python, it gets we give it 10. So it runs this thing for total 10 minutes. We gave it a flag here so that we can use that flag to determine, when to exit this loop. And then we tell it that why the total minutes is not greater than 0, as long as it's not greater than 0. No, we just keep on doing what is in here, right? So it just goes ahead, it keeps on doing everything in here, it prints total minutes, it asks us whether there is customer at the door. If there is customer at the door, it tells the customer welcome to Access Bank. Else, if there is no customer at the door, it tells the person, no, it just says waiting for the next customer, right? And then it sleeps, it decreases total minutes by 1 until it's 0, and then it prints done. What if we have say break time, and during that break time we don't let people in, right? I mean, obviously, if there is nobody passing, we don't even really care anyway. So, but there is a way that we can actually implement it in the code, and we can use the word continue to tell Python that, hey, if this is the case, if okay, let's say we have our working hours, between between the first 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then in the fifth one, that's our break time, and then during that time, we don't want to do any of these things, we can tell Python that we can tell Python something like um something like if the minute is 5, just don't do anything, just continue, just ignore everything else and continue, right? So we can put that code at the beginning here, right? So okay, actually let me put that code here. You can say something like if total minutes is equals to 5, then just say and then continue. So we have just introduced a new word, continue, and what this word does is that anytime Python sees it, Python is not going to continue the loop down the line. It's just going to continue to the next loop, right? So remember that, first time total minutes is 10, it goes down the line. Next time is 9, it goes down the line. Next time, is 8, like that. As soon as it's 5, then Python knows that it's break time. And then Python prints this guy. And then Python sees this continue. Python does not continue, does not, continue to go down the line, but Python continues back to the loop. So total minutes goes for 4 now. It's now 4. And then it can now continue to go this way, right? So this is a simple way that we can input something like like break time, for instance. So we're just saying, if it's during break, there's no need to welcome any customer. There's no need to do anything because during that period we don't have any customer. So just skip this 5, and continue to the next minute. That's what we have told Python, right? Cool. Now there is another word that I also mentioned, which is break. The break, which is this keyword right here. This one, right? Break. So we use this break to come out of the loop, to end the loop. We are not saying, hey, just keep this round, continue to the next round. We are just saying, hey, if such a condition, if we meet whatever condition we have defined under the break, just stop the loop. Don't go any further, right? So in our example, what's one scenario that we might want to stop welcoming people before the end of the day. Maybe we are just like at 6 minutes, and then we just want to stop. Let's say maybe the bank closes on Fridays early, for instance. Let's say the bank closes on Friday. It closes halfway. Let's say at 6 minutes it will close, right? So we can actually tell Python, we can actually request something like, can add something like day of the week. Yeah. Day of, okay, have day of week already. We have to supply whatever day of the week it is. So let's say it's Friday. If the day of the week is Friday, I mean, typically you want to maybe ask for this. Maybe when the same way we are asking for customer input. Actually, let's ask for the day of the week that way. But let's say this one is day of week, and it's an input, and we're just going to be asking in this case, we're just going to be asking, what day is it? And then we can go ahead and define an if statement, if day of week is Friday, we can just maybe we can print is that guy giving me some issues? Dismiss, please. Okay, we can print. We can maybe say something like, yeah, Friday, short day. So now, if it's Friday, we're just going to print this. And we're also going to check if total minutes. Remember that on Friday, we stop at 6, right? At 6. So instead of going all the way to 10, we close early on Friday, right? So that's basically what we are trying to show, right? So if total minute is 6, we can use the word break to stop the loop early. So once Python sees this word, it just breaks out of the loop, right? Okay, let's go ahead and give this a shot. Let me clear. Let me bring this up just a little bit. And this is today. We are running this guy. This is 10. Said, was there a customer? We give him yes. And we ask him which day it is. Maybe it's Monday. Nothing happens, You keep on going. Yes. Which day is it? Monday. It's actually annoying to type all these things out, but what can I do? Yes. Which day is it? Monday. And let me just go no this time around. There's nobody on the door. And then I'm going to ask which day is it? On a Monday. Okay, let's just say today is actually a Friday, for instance. Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, it's Friday, short day. It tells me that it's short there, but it's still waiting for the next customer. Let's say yes again. And then it tells us, hey, there's a customer enter. Let's say there is a customer. Which day is it? Let's say it's still Friday. And we hit. Oh, okay. So it stops early because it's Friday, and then we are at 6, right? So I mean, obviously, I mean it's a little. It's not perfect. The analogy is it's not perfect, but you kind of get the point. The use of this word is we can define a condition inside the loop so that anytime that condition is met, despite whatever this guy, whether this guy is still true or not, it's just going to stop the loop, And we can also use this guy, continue word, to define another condition inside the loop, so that if there, even if this guy is still true, he's not going to continue to run the rest of the code. He's just going to go back and continue the next loop. So these things are very important in Python, and these are kind of the building block of the more smart and intelligent softwares, that we build using Python, because it's these things that allow us to solve most of the basic problems that we face, in everyday software programming life, And then I hope now you kind of get. And I mean, at this point, you've seen that we have quite some line of code. So if you're new and you can get to this point, at this point, and then you can actually, go back, maybe review the video, type all these things out on your own, and maybe try to change them a little bit. Maybe instead of doing this for the bank, like you can do it for a different scenario. You can even come up with your own similar problems and kind of try to solve them on your own without trying to go and say, hey, ChatGPT, generate a code for me, something like that, because you're just trying to understand how this thing works, so that at the end of the day you'll be able to understand the code that even the AI code generators are generating for you, right? This is a good starting point. Like if you're able to get to this point, and then you can actually like do these things on your own, come up with a few more scenarios and kind of work through them, you've actually made a lot of progress. We have just another just a few more concepts to cover, and then we'll have covered all the basic building block of Python. That should cover like more than 70% of Python code that you're going to be coming across. Because even if it's 1,000 lines of code, they are going to be comprising of different combination of these things, that we've just talked about, right? We can also use these continue break statements even in our for loop as well. So, but maybe I can leave that for you as an assignment. You can do that on your own time and try to see how you can actually what are some scenarios that you might want to use break or continue in a for loop. So yeah, at this point, I don't know how many people are still following, but let's see if we have any questions. Do we have any questions from the audience? Anybody? Okay, no questions. So you're all following. Okay, wonderful. All right, guys. I think we have gone over almost 1 hour 30, and that's probably enough for today. as soon as we're done, within a few minutes or hour or so, the video recording is going to be available. I encourage those of you who are seriously, trying to learn programming to, really spend time on your own and, go over these things and do a lot of practice, right? For those of you who are new, like I said, maybe they don't all make sense right now. Just take your time. Like, just go back and see some of the things we've done. Yeah, I just lost electricity. So, like, just look at some of those things we've done and, just try to catch up. It's not really a lot. This is like day 10, and then most of those days we had some of them that are just, like tech talks where we didn't do anything. Some of them are like our debugging sessions, and I think that there are probably like maybe 3 or 4 sessions out of those 10 that we have actually, treated Python. So it's not really a lot. Just go back and, try to do it, so that see if you can catch up. Our goal is really to see how far we can go while carrying everybody along. I mean, it's not perfect, but we always welcome ideas. If you have any ideas on how we can improve the structure of the program currently, like, bring it. I mean, there was a time when we didn't even have a rigid schedule, a rigid timetable. It was at some points that we, came up with that idea, and it makes things a little more predictable for everybody. So yeah, I guess it's welcome again, and have a nice rest of your day. Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for taking out your time. It's
You're
not easy. I
welcome.
appreciate it.
No problem. All right, guys, bye. And in the meeting.